Roshini, and our month of celebrating kick-ass women who live among us continues with my next guest. So looking forward to chat with her. You know her as the Chief Business Officer for the Minnesota Twins, and she calls herself an introvert who has no trouble chatting people up. She is Laura Day. Laura, thanks for being with us today.
Well, thanks, Roshini. Great to join you this morning.
All right, we were talking about crazy drivers before we got you on the line. Are you ever challenged on those roadways, or do you see a lot of speedsters out there?
You know, I have to admit, since the pandemic hit just over a year ago, Roshini, I haven't been driving much, quite frankly, doing a lot of walking. So I can't say that I've encountered a lot of crazy drivers, but we've had a lot of other craziness to deal with, certainly over the past year.
That is so true. And let's get into that a little bit. So you have combined your love of business and sport. You're a trailblazer in Major League Baseball. When you started with the Twins in 1991, you could count on one hand the number of women executives in baseball. Has it gotten better, Laura?
You know, good point, and thanks for reminding me that it's 30 years ago this May that I actually first started with the Twins.
Congrats!
Well, thank you. It's gone by rather quickly. You know, it is curious when I think back on certainly my career in sports. It is true. In 1991, when I first got my first position with the Twins organization, I literally could count on one hand the number of women, certainly in managerial or senior leadership positions, not just at the Twins, but throughout sports as a whole, across the country, across the globe for that matter. It has gotten better. I'm pleased to say that. I think that's a bit of a myth that, you know, sometimes people look at me and go, oh, you know, you work in this male-dominated field. I think that's a lot because, you know, we see a lot of men athletes, men working in sports, somewhat spotlighted, but I'm here to kind of blow that myth a bit, Roshini, and let you know that we actually have made good strides. Today,
that is one.
Women.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Today we have women that are, you know, frankly, running leagues, running sports franchises, in all varying capacities, whether it's, you know, leadership positions, managerial positions on the business side, but we've also made great strides in integrating women, frankly, into the sport of baseball. So now you see them on our fields, not yet playing. We have yet to accomplish that step, but certainly coming up through the ranks on the baseball operations side of our business as well.
Yeah, and it's great to get that kind of tour through the history of that with you. Laura Day was named Executive Vice President and Chief Business Officer in December 2016 of the Minnesota Twins. She oversees their revenue-generating efforts, premium seating, brand partnerships, a lot of things, broadcast, community engagement, and emerging markets. And I'm really pleased to tell people, if they didn't already know, that you were integral in the planning, development, sales, and marketing of Target Field's launch in 2010. That year, the Twins established a franchise attendance record by attracting more than 3.2 million fans. Hard to believe, Laura Day, that it is 11 years since that opening.
Isn't it amazing? You know, we've been so fortunate to have such committed ownership and a leadership team that is committed to every day our guest experience. And I will tell you that, you know, one of my fondest moments and most poignant moments throughout my career was that day back in April of 2010 when we opened the ballpark, standing upstairs on the terrace level, Roshini, looking out at a very full ballpark and hearing that national anthem for the first time still gives me goosebumps when I think about it today. But I was fortunate to work collectively with a team of folks that brought Target Field up and out of, I guess, what was a parking lot at the time. And now, of course, it has grown into be the community asset that it is.
Yeah, it really is. And it is a special place. Wonderful views and vantage points. There's really no bad seat. And even just, one of the things my husband loves to do at games, and he takes me along with him, is we walk the concourse. That just that feeling of taking in that energy, which is so great. Laura Day, one thing I
Well,
wanted to get in. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say that's one of the things that we're so excited about this spring, Roshini, is the fact that last year, of course, we played a truncated season, 60 games, 30 of those at Target Field, but without our fans. And this year, of course, the governor and the state of Minnesota have granted us permission to safely return 10,000 fans on opening day, which will be April 8th this year. And I can't wait. The energy in the building is going to just be tremendous.
I can't wait either. That is great. It's not that far away from now, just a little after Easter. It's terrific. You mentioned, some of the changes we've all lived through, COVID changes. I know that you have some concerns even about how COVID has affected people in general. There's a lot more remote work going on. How do you think that will affect workers and women in particular as we move forward?
Really good question. I think, Roshini, I think the challenges certainly that have been amplified by the pandemic, as well as some of the social and racial injustice that has been spotlighted certainly throughout our community over the past number of months, is taking a toll, certainly as it relates to women in the workforce, not just in sports, but I think across corporate America. I think for many years, up until the start of the pandemic, we were making great strides at getting female representation throughout the corporate ranks and all industry, I should say. I think the COVID pandemic really has potentially challenged that quite a bit, especially as we're looking at statistically 1 in 4 women that are giving serious consideration to either reducing or completely removing themselves from the workforce going forward. So that's something we need to keep our eye on, right, as employers, as we're continuing to try to strive to grow our businesses, regain our businesses in many cases, but certainly something we need to keep an eye on as we return to whatever the new unnormal will be, right, in our 2021 and beyond.
Right, that is a staggering statistic. We were talking with Laura Day. She's Chief Business Officer for the Minnesota Twins. We're celebrating her this Women's History Month as one of our kick-ass women, these amazing women who live among us and guide us, and even by their examples, they don't always know the power that they wield. So I want to ask you, Laura Day, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Well, the good news is I have 14 nieces and nephews and 4 godchildren, Roshini. So
that's a lot of kids.
So for someone who doesn't have children of her own, I am so fortunate in that my husband and I maintain that each of those children in our lives are of the utmost priority. They keep us young. They keep us on our toes. They keep us laughing. I love to garden. I love to read. I've spent the past year working remotely and have had a chance to get outside more and enjoy hiking and biking and doing all the great things that the state of Minnesota has to offer for those of us to get outside and enjoy.
For people out there, I know you prefer the term work-life integration. What's your best tip for all of us, women and men, to accomplish that?
I know it's often coined work-life balance. I can't say that I've ever really had work-life balance. I think certainly when you work in sports, certainly when you work in baseball, and we have a 162-game season, 81 home games, the schedule is long and grueling. I will tell you, I'm, again, very fortunate. I have a supportive spouse that not only is he a baseball fan, but he's recently retired, successful business entrepreneur himself. So I think he understands and acknowledges the challenges and the demands that can be placed when you are working hard every day. Plus, then trying to just find that time out for yourself, right? That self-care that is so critical that I think oftentimes gets overlooked, especially with women, right? We're so busy trying to take care of everyone else and run the household and get the kids off to daycare and make sure we've got groceries in the household, et cetera. I think the biggest thing is, the sharing of responsibilities, whether it be, I'll jump in and throw a load of laundry in just to keep the household operating, or, having a supportive partner that is willing to step up and lean in, right, just to help.
Absolutely. All right, Laura Day, we're going to wind down with a little fire round. Laura has no idea what I'm going to ask her, but quick questions, quick responses. All right, the first one, your favorite all-time Minnesota Twins player?
Oh, my.
You don't have to be politically correct, Laura.
I would have to say Kirby Puckett.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. If you were a baseball player, which position would you play?
I would most likely say in the outfield. I could play either center field, left, or right field. I did play softball for many years recreationally. I was a pitcher, actually, Roshini.
Wow, that's impressive.
I wouldn't want to do that in Major League Baseball. Those balls come off those bats a little too quickly. My response time probably isn't as good as it was maybe 30, 40 years ago.
All right.
I'd rather be in the outfield where I could see the ball coming.
Yeah, but I could see you as a pitcher. I think you were probably amazing in those days. Okay, if money were not an object, what is the seat that we should all at least watch one game from when we can in Target Field or the area?
Well, I think you mentioned earlier, Roshini, there is no bad seat in the house. I would tell you, and I've been blessed to have had this opportunity, the seat directly behind home plate, located within our Thomson Reuters Champions Club. You are actually closer to the batter and the catcher, and of course the umpire behind home plate, than those three gentlemen are to the pitcher. So you're about 15 feet away. I love that location just because you can hear the sound of the ball hitting the glove, assuming they threw a strike. Just the sound of the game is so unique from that perspective. I would also tell you I've been to the very top row of the terrace deck. I had to hold on, mind you. As I age, I think I'm struggling with the height a little bit. But sitting in the very top row in the very end seat, overlooking our beautiful downtown cityscape, is pretty spectacular as well.
Well, I can't wait to experience both of those places. Laura Day, such a pleasure to talk with you today. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule and including us in your work-life integration. She is the Chief Business Officer of the Minnesota Twins. Good luck this season.
Thank you, Roshini, and go Twins.